Hello, everybody. This is Tito Bort, CEO at Alti Sales, and we are here with Allie Hudson from Docebo. How are you, Allie?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. I'm really excited today. We are doing another one of our SDR Superstar series. So it's funny. I met Allie because she signed up for cold calling training, and she came to training. We, talked for a little bit, learned a little bit about Docebo and who they're selling to. She pitched me, and she was really good on the phone. I was like, this is interesting. Why'd you sign up for training? She's like, I'm always trying to get better. And then I'm like, okay, let's do it again. And, I made it harder for her, and she still did a really good job. So you're going to see that interview posted, I don't know, maybe before or after this. It's coming the next day, or it just came a couple of days ago. And you'll understand why Allie is here now in our SDR Superstar series. So I'm super excited.
Me too. Thanks so much for hosting this and for having me.
Yeah, pleasure. So let's dive right in, give some, value to the audience here. So Ali, you're one of the best performers at Docebo. Tell us about, what percentage of quota are you at over the past, month or a few months?
Yeah, so I'm still relatively new to the team here at Docebo. We have a 3-month ramp period that I'm just finishing up. It's the beginning of December now, so just finished up my ramp period. During my 3-month ramp period, I hit approximately 110% of my goals. So,
Okay. Yeah, that's really cool. Um, So tell us a little bit about Docebo and what you guys are doing. What's the market you're going after? Deal sizes, a little bit of perspective because we'll talk about your metrics and so on soon.
yeah, Docebo is in an interesting position because we have a huge pool of prospects. So we have a ton of different verticals that we can go into, a ton of different buyer personas, which is a blessing and a curse sometimes because you have to master a lot of stories and a lot of what's going to be relevant to your different prospects, but you also have a ton of people to choose from. So interesting position to be in.
Yeah, tell us about the technology. So what does Docebo do as a company? Like, who would use this? What's the average deal size type of thing?
Yeah, so Docebo is a learning management system. And so any form of training that a company needs to do, any form of e-learning, online training, Docebo is able to suit those needs. So anywhere from internal training, onboarding new hires for a company that's growing quickly, needs to keep up with the pace of growth. We can help them create learning pathways for their new hires, all the way to a software company that needs to provide on-demand learning to their clients. Like when a new release comes out, people need to know how to navigate that new release or have questions and need to get them answered on demand. That's also something Docebo does well.
Okay, really cool. So your clients, like, you need learning management. Are they paying like $100 a month for it, or like 1,000, or like 5,000 a year, 50,000 a year, or 500,000 a year? Give us some. Audience wants to
It
know,
really,
how hard is this?
Yeah, it really depends on the company. So we have a lot of SMB customers who just training their internal audience for a few $1,000s a year, all the way up to companies who have literally millions of active users, from internal to their sales team to their customers, where those are much larger contracts. I would say our average deal size is around $35,000
Okay,
for annual.
fantastic. Great. So tell us about your job specifically within Docebo. So how much do you do inbound versus outbound? What's your split there?
Yeah, so Docebo has 2 separate inbound and outbound teams. So we have 4 inbound reps and 9 outbound reps currently. And the outbound reps are really responsible for the full scope of the outbound process. So finding accounts, finding leads within those accounts, and all the outreach there as well.
Okay, so you're 100% outbound. That's all you do all day.
Correct.
Okay, great. Um, let's talk a little bit about, what tools you're using. What's the company providing you? Do you have, data tools and then outreach tools, and what are you using?
Yeah, I think Docebo has provided us with some great tools. So for everyday communication, we use outreach.io. So that's what we live in all day pretty much. For prospecting, we have several different tools. So we start by finding accounts in EverString, then move over to Sales Navigator, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and Zoom Info to find correct people, personas within those companies, and then their contact information.
Okay. Yeah, that's really cool. It's funny. That's very similar to what we use at Alti Sales. I am evaluating EverString at the moment, so we'll see if I use that. I might ask you to show me how you're using EverString. Maybe I'll learn something from you in that regard.
Yeah, for sure.
That's really cool. So you're doing some research on those contacts. How much research are you actually doing? Are you just trying to find phone number, email, title, or are you trying to go deeper? Do you store that data? Do you keep notes in a notebook? Do you put it in the account field within outreach or contact field? What are you doing?
When I'm initially finding prospects to reach out to within a company, if I've already identified that the company is someone I want to be reaching out to, and I find someone with the right persona, say a director of learning and development or a director of customer success or something like that, they're added to my list to upload into the CRM and then into outreach. Once I actually start my communication and outreach is when I'm going to do some more research on what's actually going to be relevant to that person. So hopefully they'll have something in their LinkedIn bio that I can use as a trigger, or something in the company's LinkedIn that I can use as a trigger as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's really cool. And then we're talking a little bit about your strategy for going outbound. So tell us about your cold calls or emails. What do you get there? Are you getting scripts or templates? How much do you build your own? How much flexibility do you have?
Yeah, so our team is given sequences that we put people into. So we have a persona specific sequence. So a sequence for directors of L&D and hospitality, retail, directors of L&D and technology, so on and so forth, which we have some templated emails in those. We're working on moving towards more personalization in our emails for sure. As far as phone calls go, during our training, we learn a lot more about the story behind what's going to be relevant to that persona instead of a script necessarily.
Okay. So you kind of navigate the call on your own and you figure out what do you need to say there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, that's really cool. Tell me about the training here. What have how often do you guys have training? What are you learning on a monthly or weekly basis? What'd you learn over the past couple of weeks that you didn't know before, for example?
Yeah, so the training at Docebo, we go through a 2-week intensive onboarding process where we learn all about our buyer personas and the product, and a lot of people are new to Outbound in general here. So what does Outbound even look like during that 2 weeks? And then we do have ongoing meetings. We do them twice a week on Tuesday and Thursday, where we get together as a team and we talk about what's working and what's not. So this week, something we learned, we thought that HR directors would be good people to go after. We originally thought that they would be within our ICP. And this week during our session, everyone was just like, we've had no success with HR directors. We need to stop wasting our time and really focus on L&D folks. So stuff like that is what we talk about in our weekly meetings.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. That's really cool. Defining and refining that ideal customer profile takes a little time, and then
Exactly.
It's also different inbound versus outbound, because sometimes when you're having people come inbound, as in any company, I've seen this a lot. The CEO goes and tells the new intern, like, hey, by the way, we need a learning and development tool. Can you go investigate? So like somebody comes inbound and they're like, good company, and it's like marketing intern, and it's like, oh my god,
Exactly.
we got a terrible person. But you hop on the phone with them, it's like, hey, tell me about, why are you checking Docebo? They're like, well, the CEO just asked me to take a look at a few tools, and you're like, and managing those deals is very different. You always want to be friendly and earn their trust and love for the company, not go to feature specific and so on. Going outbound is completely different. You don't want to go call the intern, because the CEO can always tell the intern what to do, but the intern can never tell the CEO what to do, to put it that way. So yeah, that's cool that you're refining it for outbound. you're talking Outbound has been an initiative that started 2017, early in January, right?
Right. So my manager was brought on in January of 2017. Our team was 3 people at that point, and now we're up to 9. So definitely initiative to make this Outbound team grow and work here at Docebo.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. And it seems like you guys are making good progress and refining things. So,
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about compensation, how that works at Docebo. I don't want to share any specific numbers, of course, but base salary plus commissions as everybody. What is that commission based on? Is it just setting up a meeting? Is it having the meeting performed, or the amount of pipeline it creates, revenue closed? How does that work?
I think we're a little different here at Docebo than what I've heard from most SDRs. I was an SDR previously, and we got paid on meetings completed. Here at Docebo, we get paid our commission on fully qualified opportunities. So once that is deemed as an actual opportunity and moved to opportunity stage in the pipeline is when we get our commission.
Okay. And it's interesting you say that, because from what you've been talking about how you guys pick your own accounts, this is also how I would manage a team like Docebo, where if I'm not giving you what account as an SDR you get a prospect into, and you're doing your own research and you're deciding, then I just need to make sure that whatever company you picked and you brought over is good and it's worth it, right? If I were assigning accounts to you, right, I would subscribe to your previous company methodology, where it's like, as soon as the meeting is completed, it's good because I've assigned you the account. So I, as a manager, would take the responsibility for the account being good. So that does make a lot of sense. It's funny. We talked briefly about a recent blog that I had featured on Sales Hacker about the SDR to AE handoff. What happens a lot of times when SDRs are being compensated on not meetings completed, but the opportunity be moving forward or being created or moving to step 2 or 3 or whatever, there's always the death zone, which is what I called it, right? It's that SDR books a good meeting, it's the right person, feels like the right company, gets set to the AE talks to them, and it's the right company, it's the right title, but the person's not like stoked about Docebo yet, or about whatever company you're at, as for the audience listening. And then the AE is like, oh, I want to hold off on this. I don't want to put it on a pipeline, because otherwise my boss, the VP of sales, is going to come to me and be like, why is that not moving? Why have you done work for that? And because I haven't put it into pipeline, the SDR doesn't get paid for it. So like, it's frustrating for SDRs, and there's a way to solve it. So I might link to the blog post from Sales Hacker below or above, and just go find. You can stop the video, always go read and come back.
Yeah, I highly recommend that blog post. It's great. So
awesome. Thanks, Allie. So let's talk a little bit more about quota. So how many meetings or how many qualified opportunities do you need on a monthly basis?
So 6 is our goal every month at full ramp. So December is my first month at full ramp, which is an exciting month for my first month at full ramp. So hoping that it's going to be a good month for me. But 6 fully qualified opportunities, which if you backtrack that, it's a lot more meetings set on my part than 6.
Okay, so what's the average? Like, what percentage of meetings that are performed or completed move to a qualified one on average for the team?
Yeah, so on average, we're about 70% right now that move, which is really great. But I also think that our team has gotten better at knowing when is a good time to send something over to an AE and when isn't. Because I don't want to waste an AE's time and have something sit in that dead zone that you were talking about, when I can hold on to it for a little longer until it's ready to go over to the AE, which that's probably a whole nother discussion about how to handle those and everything. But I think that our team has gotten good at knowing when something's going to be an opportunity and when something isn't.
Right. And what happens, a lot of people, you're talking about 3-month ramp, and then it's important to clarify here for the audience, because I talk to a lot of teams that are like, yeah, it's a 3-month ramp, and what you're actually experiencing as a rep is, even though in theory it says it's a 3-month ramp, there's an important delay between you booking a meeting and the meeting being performed. That could take, if you're good, and what SDR should always do is pitch it for the next day or the next 2 days.
Right.
However, I hear most SDRs pitch it for the next week, and sometimes be like, oh yeah, we can totally meet next month, and then they, like, the sales cycle just gets ruined. And then the other thing is, after the meeting gets performed, sometimes it takes another week or two for the AE to make it a qualified opportunity. So there's actually a month that, like, December, you're actually just getting the meetings that you booked in November to see if they're qualified. If you started in September, then your month would have been two months. You have 2 weeks where you're not calling, so now you're down to 6 weeks. And even within those 6 weeks, like, you haven't even gotten a lot of cold calling training or whatever. You kind of weren't given script. So in those 6 weeks, you're going from, hey, I'm starting to make my first call, to now I need to be booking as many opportunities as anybody else. I would say that's really short for a mid-market / enterprise company. But it is what it is. If you're a CEO or a CRO of a company, you're gonna look at your team and say, we need to ramp people faster. And then the way you do it is you just shorten the ramp in terms of quota. You're like, oh yeah, your quota will just go up faster. And you're not thinking about those delays. So for them, they're like, we have a 3-month ramp. They're actually giving their SDRs a 6-week ramp. So it's impressive that you've hit those numbers. I'd be curious. It's probably hard for you to know if you know this, but I'd be curious to hear how many reps, when they get onboarded, they go over quota during those months. Something interesting to look at.
I'm not sure what the number is for the whole team, but I know me and then the one other rep that was onboarded after me, both of us were over quota during our ramp period. So.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let me see. Let's talk a little bit more about what happens after you hit quota. Do you have an accelerator or any other way, or how does this work? Like, if you're killing it, how do you make a lot of money?
We don't have any form of accelerator currently, although we have what I think is a pretty good compensation model per opportunity. So even though it's not on an accelerator basis, there's still a hefty incentive to book more meetings.
Right. Okay, yeah. So without disclosing, exact numbers or whatever, what I'll tell the audience is this was an interesting case where Allie's base tends to be a little bit lower than most organizations. However, the per meeting commission, like you're saying, that you're getting paid, is very strong. So if you exceed your quota by 20, 30, 50%, because the commission is such a big portion, it ends up rolling over and then making you a significant amount of money. So that's really, really cool.
That's what I prefer as an SDR also, being able to have more control over how much money I make, instead of having a larger base and less commission.
Yeah, Ali, I'm going to agree with you. As a manager of a high-performing SDR team, I love that too. I'd rather hire people that, I want to give them a base just to show them our commitment to them being successful, our commitment to them, doing well. And then I don't want them to be worrying about, like, am I going to be able to pay rent this month?
Exactly.
But, hey, you want to be driving a Porsche? Sure. Book 20 meetings, not 6, right? And then we'll be driving a Porsche. Jason Lemkin, who I follow a lot, and SaaStr. If the audience is not going to SaaStr annual next year, you guys are crazy. Message me. I'll tell you exactly why you need to go. Especially if you're an executive or anybody who's in tech sales, you need to go. But Jason Lemkin, who I admire a lot, he's the guy behind the SaaStr brand. He's putting SaaStr annual together. He talks a lot about how when you hire your first reps, he says your best performing rep should be driving, I think it's an M6 BMW, right? They should be killing it. And I think the SDR role is exactly the same. Your best SDR should be like making tons of money and doing incredibly well. And the reason for that is the delta of performance between your best and your average, right? In most companies, what I see is the best AE may be selling 2x what the average AE is selling. Sometimes even less, like only 50% more than the average one. However, in the SDR role, the best SDR at most of the organizations I talk to is booking 3 to 5x as much pipeline or revenue, or closing as much, actual like deals, or sourcing deals that close that are five times higher. So if the average SDR is worth whatever 60K in salary and it's costing you as a company 80K, and your best one is sourcing 3x that, how is that one not worth 200K, right? So I have a blog post about that. And yeah, so love the way you're thinking about this, Allie, as well. Let's talk a little bit about continuing the company structure. So are you guys round robin? Are you paired up to an AE? How does that work?
We are round robin. So we have a couple of segments of the round robin. So we have SMB AEs that handle our smaller deals, and then we have enterprise AEs. So there are round robins within each of those segments, but round robin.
Interesting. Something I hear here regarding the round robin is sandbagging deals for SDRs. I'll give you an example. You're like, oh my God, I just booked a meeting, and you're like, I need to send it. You look at the list, you're like, ooh, John is left, and John sucks as an AE. I want to just get David, who's next. I'm just going to wait for somebody else to book a meeting, and then they can give it to John, and I'll give it to David. Is that something you guys can do at your company, or is this like super controlled where like there's no way to hack the system?
If you wanted to hack the system, I guess you could. It's not anything super fancy. It's just on a Google Doc. You look and see who's up next, and then that's who you book it with. Although we do really like to stick to the round robin just to keep it as fair as possible. If there's a really good reason why something needs to go to a different AE, then there are occasional exceptions. But other than those, except like very rare instances where it's just like this has to go to whoever, then we stick to the round robin.
Cool, awesome. I might write a blog post about this because I've found 2 ways to solve that problem. Like at your team size, it might not be a huge problem. I've seen companies where they have 25 SDRs, and then a lot of people are like, the SDRs are very clear on like who's the better AE or whatever. There's, even if that's not always true, there's always certain preference, right? And the 2 ways are, one is to do round robin not for the team but for the individual. So let's say Allie, now you send one, your first deal goes to John, the second goes to David, the third one goes to Casey, the fourth one goes to Jennifer, the fifth one goes to whatever, right? And it's an individual round robin rather than a team round robin. And the other way to go about it is just continuing the round robin as it is for the team, right? Especially if you don't want to, what that might create when it's individual SDRs is sometimes one AE has a lot of deals, the other one doesn't have a lot of deals. So that's problematic. The other way to solve it if your team's smaller is to just do round robin for the team. But at the end of every month, as an SDR manager, you go to your SDRs and you look at all the deals they booked and who they sent it to. And if you're seeing inconsistencies, or like somebody's booking way too many deals for one person or no deals for one person, for the next month, you tell them, this next month, Allie, the first 5 deals you book are all going to go to Jonathan because you haven't booked anything for Jonathan in the past 3 months. So yeah, I can write a blog post about it. I probably will. But for the audience, if you're suffering the problem of SDR to AE, pairings, or you don't want to move away from pods because round robin wouldn't be fair in some way, those are 2 good ways to think about it. Let's talk, actually, we did that cold calling kind of like training. So we will have a big example there of some of the things you do. I think we have 3 calls, but even now for the audience, I do want to have him listen to at least a quick call. So, I'm going to pretend I am head of learning and development at a tech company here in the Bay Area, and you're giving me a call. Let's try it out. So yeah, phone's gonna ring. Ring, ring. Hello, this is Tom.
Hey Tom, this is Allie with Docebo. Did I catch you at a bad time?
No. What are you calling about?
Great, thank you. I promise I'll be brief, but I was calling because I saw that your company has grown by 200% in the last 6 months. Congrats on that, by the way. And I was just curious how you're currently training all of your new employees that you're bringing on.
Yeah, well, we have a pretty established process here. We have a box.com account where we have a lot of documentation and people just go there. And of course, we have a very, in-depth training program where people need to go, and we have trainers and staff that teach them all about our systems and methods and processes. So I think we're all taken care of here, but I appreciate the call.
Yeah, that's great that you already have all that content built out and stored in Box. The reason I was reaching out to you actually is we worked with a lot of other tech companies in similar positions to you at this pace of growth, like DocuSign and Indeed, and they were able to create a more automated onboarding process that took a lot less effort on the back end, and they were just able to manually onboard all of their new employees. And I was wondering if you had 15 minutes maybe later this week where I could share some more about that with you.
It's not necessarily something we're looking at immediately as we've done this pretty well, and it's the end of the year, so can you call me back maybe late January?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you a call back in January and hopefully we can touch base then.
Okay. Well, thanks so much.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Okay, cool. Yeah, that was fun. Just wanted to give the audience some insight into what you're doing there. That was a good call. You're giving me a little bit of perspective. You're doing what we call social proof, dropping some names of other clients. You're asking relevant questions. How am I doing things? And yeah, and in the full video about cold calling training, people can hear more. It's funny because you really prepared for that training. You're watching my other videos, so you knew exactly what I was gonna give you feedback on. And the call is a little bit different, to be honest, to my style. I like this call. This was good, but I think the calls that we did during the cold calling training were excellent. You blew my mind over there. And today I told you we wouldn't do any calls on
I
purpose.
know, you threw me off.
Because I wanted to check your reaction when I all of a sudden put you on the spot to try some calls. So
Yeah.
so that was fun. Hopefully the audience can enjoy it. And again, like the link to the other blog where Allie's 100% prepared for cold calling is will be linked around here. That was awesome. So help us here with your source of meetings. Social, email, phone. What percentage is coming from where? Share that.
Definitely vast majority from the phone, probably between 70 and 80%, depending on the week. And then very little social. That's honestly something I haven't mastered nor put a ton of effort into. I do mostly social to find things to talk about in phone calls and emails. So.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that seems like a lot of fun then. From the emails, are these mostly like replies to the sequence, or kind of like, talk on the phone, then send email back and forth and book it, or they reply to the sequence, then you reply back, then they reply back, then you reply back, then book it?
Very rarely will I get a meeting booked straight from an email. The point of my emails is to get people on the phone. I feel like people object to emails way easier. They have a lot more time to come back and think about why they should say no to me.
Yep.
So the purpose of my emails is always to get them on a phone call.
Yep, I like that. And I did subscribe to that methodology forever. I still strongly believe it's a really good way to approach it, depending on your market. Because it's easier to interact 2 minutes on the phone and just answer all their objections and book it. People are lazy to every time have to click reply and type again. What I've seen though, sometimes it's interesting, with Alti sales, we're reaching out to so many markets because we're working with different clients. Sometimes we're selling to IT, sometimes customer support, sometimes marketing, sometimes enterprise companies, sometimes mid-market, sometimes SMBs. Like, we've done it all, and it varies. Something I've seen for the audience that could be helpful is I recommend always, if you get an email reply with an objection, call them. And then if you are unable to get them on the phone, just reply back and say, John, I tried calling you to explain how this works, but I wasn't able to get you on the phone. Here's my perspective, right? And you write about it, and you're like, would it make sense to meet for 15 minutes? And then you can start increasing the strength of your close. There are specific ways you can learn about it. I think I might have some of my older blog posts on LinkedIn mentioning some of those things, but you can go from like super nicely, like, would it make sense to talk for 15 minutes to like, is there a reason why you wouldn't take a look at this? Or like,
Yeah.
things like that are like more like the default option is for you to take a look. If you're saying no, it has to be a strong one, or you can even close the meeting in different ways. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that's
I
cool.
like that advice to call them right away. I think that's really good, because a lot of times we'll spend a lot of time crafting a rebuttal to this objection when you could just have that conversation on the phone.
Yeah, even like, especially if you get a quick response, you're on your email, you're walking around, whatever, or you're not at your desk, you should just reply back immediately, like, I'll call you in 30 seconds, and just run to your desk and call them. And then when they see the email, like, I'll call you in 30 seconds, when the phone rings, they know it's you now. So they're more likely to pick up. And then the idea is not to be like, what you said is not right. Like, this is what we do. It's different, right? Like, of course, you never want to do that with a prospect. Right? Like, hey, man, I read your email. Totally understand your concern. It seems like you're thinking about it this way. The way we've seen things is this other way. And here are the benefits. And, you're talking about pricing. And, we have different packages or whatever. And, if you can spend whatever, like, I know a lot of solutions have minimums. So like, if you really think that like $10,000, let's say that's your minimum, is completely out of your world, I don't think that you can get a lot. Even if you have no packages under $10,000, I can say I don't think you'll get a lot from us for under $10,000. From what I've researched from your company, you at least need to be spending $10,000. So if 10,000 is a just non-starter, we shouldn't talk. But 10,000 is usually very small for what my clients say, and in that case, blah blah blah, and then you can rebuttal, or like work that objection. That is also interesting, Ali. I think you've done a good job on our cold calling training for a lot of objections. I have a lot of techniques and methods that I haven't gone too in depth in the audience. So if you're watching this video and you want that content, go in the comments and tag me and Ali, and we might get on another call and do some training or something, or help people out with their objections. And you can tell us, how do you handle X objection, and we can do training on that. I think that'd be cool. Would you be up for that?
Yeah, totally. And I think everyone probably has like the top 2 or 3 objections that they get every time, and you want to be prepared to handle those really well. So I think that would be really helpful for everyone. It'd be interesting to hear what kind of objections other people get as well.
Yeah, the typical ones like, hey, I have no money. I'm not interested, and it's not a good time, right? Those are the most common ones. Or, oh, we're already using something else. I have a lot of really cool stuff for how to handle those. I'm debating if I should give everybody all my secret sauce or not, but I think I will. I mean, why not? Worst case scenario, people just see the value in the training, and then they're like, Tito, I want to work with you at Alti Sales, which already happens about 2 or 3 times a day.
There you go.
Which is awesome. I mean, I have an in-depth interview process, and I love hiring the best people out there. So we'll keep training everybody, Ali.
Perfect.
Last couple of questions. We're gonna run off the phone soon. Favorite SDR incentives, either at this company or other companies. What are the coolest things you've been given that got you super excited and kept both your kind of like short-term motivation to make those extra calls, and then long-term motivation to continue killing it?
Yeah, Docebo does some really cool weekly, monthly contests. So something just to like throw some incentive every once in a while. I won this Fitbit a couple weeks ago for the most, our initial discovery calls, the most completed for that week. We also had a really fun contest a couple weeks ago about whoever booked the most meetings within the hour got $20, and that rolled over every hour if a meeting wasn't booked. So pretty much every hour there was $20 up for grabs. So really put in the motivation not only every day, but every hour.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. Like $20 an hour. That sounds like fun. What happens if like two people have the same number of meetings? Is it split between the two?
Split.
Or?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So like if it's the first minute of the hour somebody books a meeting, I'd be like, okay, now I don't want to book one because then I can just wait.
It was kind of a game a little bit. It would be like 10:59 and you're like, oh.
Right. Aren't we all as sales reps always working our comp, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know how it works. Like if I know that it's better for me to book another meeting at 11:01 rather than 10:59,
Mm-hmm.
I have a prospect on the phone, I'm totally gonna book it and wait 2 minutes before I put it in the system or whatever. So yeah, it's that's cool. Our favorite SDR incentive, I think I might have mentioned this in another SDR interview as well, is I'm launching this. I want every company to launch this. This is why I mention it so much. It's the SDR President's Club. So a lot of companies have their sales president's club, especially the big ones where like, their top AEs are flown to Hawaii and they do all these like all-inclusive hotel stuff and like they spend tons of money on it. And they do it once a year, which is fine. If you're a sales rep for Salesforce, you might be selling millions of dollars, and therefore the company is spending 20K on you for once a year to send you there, or 50K on you and your wife or whatever to send you there. Totally fine. I think that the SDR role is very interesting. We're having a lot of people right out of college or switching careers.
Mm-hmm.
They're usually kind of young, 20s, 30s, at least the majority. I actually like hiring people who are outside that range. They provide a different type of dynamic and stability to the team, but I won't get too much into that. What the SDR President's Club is about is a much less expensive, less fancy, much more adventurous. So it's about going to Cancun for a week, not for a week, but for a weekend. You fly down on a Friday. You will not be staying at a 5-star all-inclusive hotel, but maybe a 3.5, 4-star. But it's all about the adventure and the team building, right? So we might go scuba diving, whitewater rafting, bungee jumping, things like that. We have 1 or 2 activities for the weekend. We do the typical like champagne and awards for the team. And things like that. So I've decided I'm launching this Q1 next year. It was announced to my team recently too. Everybody's aware of what we're doing. It's going to be super, super fun. And hopefully, what would be really cool is to organize it with other companies.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's more like adventurous and things like that, kind of like coordinate timing to have different teams do it, in the same city. And then we can get together and all go, team bonding, Docebo and Alti sales, go to Cancun to do champagne and scuba diving together. That'd be fun.
That'd be awesome. It's cold out here now too, so Cancun sounds extra nice.
Yes, always. End of the year is also the best time to go because it gets so hot in there during the summer that there's a lot of what they call snowbirds from North US or Canada that fly down, and the place is booked for New Year's and so on. So yeah, it's really, really cool. Awesome. I think that is all we have for now, Allie. Any other, comments for the audience, ways to contact you? Should they reach out to you on LinkedIn? I don't know. What you have a couple of minutes to give me your message.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love connecting with people and talking about how you're doing the SDR role, any tips and tricks that you have, because I am still always learning as well. So I'd love to connect with anyone. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can also shoot me an email if you want. I'll give you my email address. My email is Allison, ALLISON .Hudson, HUDSON @Docebo, DOCEBO.com.
Cool. That's awesome, Allie. Same here for the audience. If you want to connect with me, just send me a LinkedIn connect request. You can also click follow. I don't accept everybody, and that's because I want to keep my network very targeted. But here's who I accept. I accept anybody who's in business development or sales development, anybody who's working in tech, anybody who is in the US in a relevant industry, or we have a lot of common connections, and I sense that we're part of the same network. Or if you're from Bolivia, which is where I was born and raised, and you need anything, I'll help you. If you're from Duke University, you need anything, I will help you. Those are the two advantages of any Duke or Bolivia person. I'm all in to give you a hand. I had an interesting person who was both a Bolivian who went to Duke reach out to me, and I was like, oh my God. Like I'm gonna do anything to help you succeed in your career. I've been very grateful for people in my network giving me a hand.
Mhm.
Duke University community being amazing for me. People from Bolivia always helping each other out. We're trying to, just make each other better and pull the country out of its pretty bad state. We're the third poorest country in all Latin America, and there's a lot of things to do there to improve. But yeah, you know, I'll accept almost everybody unless you are, you know, clearly somebody trying to just grab my email and spam me, or you're a data researcher from Philippines like I do. I have my team in Philippines that does find all your data. I tell them not to add anybody on LinkedIn because it's too obviously.
Do you accept UNC grads?
UNC grads are kind of shady. I feel I tend not to like him. I'm kidding. Yeah, UNC grads. If you're in tech, sure. Like, let's connect. Of course. If you're building companies, if you're SDR, if you're doing something related to what I do, let's connect. Even financial. I don't know. I'll look at your profile. I'll be like, is there a reason why they would learn anything from me, or I can learn anything from them? If the answer to that is yes, sure, let's do it.
Perfect.
So,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Any Georgia Bulldogs are out there, feel free to add me as well. And we're here in Athens, so love being part of the Athens community.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. A lot of people don't know this, but I spent about 3 months at Georgia Tech. I won't
Oh,
get too into that story, but I graduated high school in Bolivia, being the southern hemisphere of the world. Our school calendar goes from February till November. So I graduated school, November, high school in November, and I was going to start college I was applying to college, and then I was
yeah.
going to start college in August. So I had those like 8-9 months of like, oh, what am I going to do now? And my English wasn't great, so I came to the U.S. for 3 months. I went to Georgia Tech for an English as a second language course. Uh, and my English has gotten a little bit better since then. And yeah, now I can cold call and not feel like I'm a foreigner.
Awesome. Well, that time did you well there because your English is great. So
Thanks. Cool. Thank you, everybody, for attending this session. Hopefully you learned a lot. And yeah, keep in touch. Talk soon.
sounds good. Thanks, Tito.